So I'm starting to have this weird. I'm getting a better sense of time as I get older, and as events pass, sort of the slow build up that you see in society of stuff, and how people's sentiments will, slowly, like, kind of, you'll see it all build, a pressure build, and or just a trend happen that everybody just likes, like Uggs. People loved Uggs for a really long time. Now you don't see them as often. So there's a number of these trends, and I'm like, okay, there was a warning from what now is being identified as the political right, where this was more people that were just like, okay, you're not holding everybody up to the same standards. And it was that simple. Typically it was that simple. A lot of you are just not holding everybody up to the same standards of behavior. And this is a permissiveness that has grown. It was a trend. It was a trend in mothering. After the Gen Xers, and even with a lot of Gen Xers, but especially afterward, that you just started to see this softness and permissiveness that was going on. And now we have people that they just don't have impulse control, so they actually can't focus a lot of their cognitive functions on one point. They have not developed one pointedness of mind, or single pointedness of mind. To a great extent in the West, we sort of approach it a different way. You could focus on one thing when you're disinterested in other things around you. So it's the cultivation of disinterestedness. And a big part of this is also that, like the way that in the West, because there's a better way to describe it, in the Western world, especially, you see this a lot spoken about among writers of Freemasonry, but it really comes out of the Catholic tradition, in British Catholic tradition. Disinterestedness, that you take your interest out of a subject so that you could analyze it scientifically, with the idea of using natural reason. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of different thinkers and writers would have, written and spoken about this, of course, but it's just that, we get this language it becomes quite specific. That you could tell, like, okay, no, this is derivative of something that came out of Catholicism from the universities, and this idea of interest, and how that messes up observation. It's no longer observantia. It's your interest that actually is exploring you're seeing the subject through, or so you're seeing the object through your subjective interest, rather than maybe that you have poor observational skills. Which in all cases, that's the idea, is that at some point you have poor observational skills. So then you submit what you've observed to others for peer review. So it was, as I was starting to walk through, like, just thinking really, like, okay, we're seeing white men who are really marriage material, more and more realizing, like, how big of a deal this is going to be if they choose poorly. And they are having a very hard time finding anybody who and a lot of them are just, they're noping out. They're just like, it is not worth it. I'm not seeing how this deal works out for me. Nobody is putting it in terms that make it look like it's going to work out for me. So there's that. That's a big deal. That is a big, 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 big deal. There's something about this, the people we refer to as white Americans, and how important it is that the men give women attention, and that the women can act how they wish, whatever the fashion of the time is, but you know, but that's the thing is so black men and women already have a big problem with the whole marriage thing. That's and that's going to keep having. That's only going to get worse. That's right now the way I'm seeing that social trend. That will only get worse within that community. I'm almost writing that entire group of people in society off. That they're just like, whatever's going to come of them. I mean, it's just, this is disaster. What's already starting in these blue enclaves where black Americans are sort of trapped there. Yeah, this is just going to be crazy. I don't even know what to think. Because of now this revolt that's starting to happen in some of these cities from the black Americans, I'm like, this is like one of these things where it's like, where did all of these Fremen appear from, you know? That's, you know, like, I'm just like, all of a sudden, you know, like, Paul Muad'Dib or something, or Duncan, Idaho, you know, it's like, you know, like, where, but, sire, there appears to be an army of Fremen, you know, this is many times more the number of Fremen than we thought before, you know. So that political revolt is kind of,
that seems a little.
It's kind of surprising me the way that it's that's panning out. Then there's this thing of how there's this weird issue of we have to keep all these people on the public payroll, or else government's not going to function because government is working so well. But government always needs more money from people's taxes to work better, because there's ever increasing numbers of people that are constantly falling into poverty because of the private sector or something which isn't organized, which is made up of just, it's definitively unorganized. So, and then it's becoming, so what naturally would then follow is, so we're going to need to have more and more say over the private sector and constantly monitor it and have people that fundamentally, to the point where it's, you just sort of nominally own the business, and it becomes then like a land where the economy is a Schindler economy, that it's this weird, like, syndicalist kind of, maybe you have, the power you would have in syndicalism, you know, where your union would have some kind of goon squad or lawfare unit that could constantly, you know, like, eke out a little bit more of a cut or something like that, or, you know, for the members. But I mean, it's that the more and more I think about this, I'm like, these people are really trying to go for a type of system that Americans fundamentally consistently reject. That it's like this period of time that these people are looking back and they're like, yay, union, everybody was so happy back then. What they're looking at is they're looking at the 1950s. They're not looking at some other, like, they're not looking at like some kind of, I mean, that's just it. They're looking at the 1950s. And what they're taking out is, they're either looking at the 1950s or they're looking back at the Wilson administration. And that's the ramifications of both are just magnificent. And that's the libs. They want to somehow extract the organization of those times. And I mean, the Wilson administration, I mean, come on now. That's, just that part, that's delicious for me when I think about that. this idea of hearkening back to some period of time there would be government control over the economy, like Woodrow Wilson or Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And then the idea that you would have taxation at the level of like 1954 or something like that. All of these things, I'm like, so you really do want complete and total control of your life by the state, really. I mean, like, you don't really seem to get what those times were like, because you all criticize those times for the patriarchal rulership of your vaginas. You know, I mean, like, what are you talking about? And you know, so you want the taxation of that time, so you have the goodies and the monies, but you don't want to deal with what else that would entail, and that would be control freaks, you know, running everything. And so it's like I'm like starting to like see how all of this, because people physically moved, and now the way that crime is going down, or the way crime is happening, the kinds of criming that's going on, the brutality and mayhem and madness of the criming is now this thing that I'm starting to like see consistently enough that I'm like, no, this is going to go, there's going to be, like, it's already bad. Something like monumental levels of worseness are going to be occurring. But at the end of it all is going to be this issue of we didn't want any of this on the right of center, and you all know it. And then it's going to be this thing of like, and there's no longer this game. We're not playing anymore. You know we didn't want this. You guys made this happen. And now we don't physically live near you. You know, and now there's enough of this geopolitical, you know, divorce that, and that's the part that I'm really like, that's what I'm looking to see. There's got to be more of the geo-social political divorce coming as the real estate market tanks, which now everybody's pretty much like, oh, this is going to be the tanking of all the tankiest tanking that could have ever tanked before. And so they're like, this is going to be unbelievable. Wow. Dude, it is amazing to see people drive around like a school when you have to drop your kids off. Like, it's like Speed Racer. It's like Mask. You know, like people are zapping each other with laser beams. Like zipping around, doing donuts around each other, doing J-turns, K-turns, all kinds of crazy shit. Motherfucker, get out of my way. Gotta get to work. My kid could have ridden a bicycle, they could have taken a bus, they could have done anything. Because this area is very well set up for that, but fuck that. Fuck all that. No. No exercise. No discipline. No grit. Can't have grit. You know? Can't treat the world like it's a normal place. No. So, sorry. If you knew what school I was near, a part of it is knowing a little about, like, kind of, it produces some kind of weird, it's the hub of the kind of the art kids, the thespians. Oh yeah, that's one that I actually, at some point, and very seriously, like, actually, there we go. There's an aspect, a cultural part of it, the geosocial political split. These areas that they say, in these areas, they have lots of theaters, because you see they have lots of culture. Because you see, and there's all these parts of the country that there is no culture. Well, why don't you live there and start theaters there? Oh, well, because the culture there. they're not into theater. I love how that always works. Like, that's one I've had to think through before, and you could tell I kind of have the Oribus of that it's set in. And so that's like one of there's a lot of this kind of, this stuff that, with these two solidly now, because I was thinking about how to explain the right to people in a lot of ways, and I was like, yeah, nobody really got. There was no real solid right until the left started throwing bolos. And then these people started saying, oh shit, I guess we're all on the same team according to them. And more people started getting fundamentally kind of pushed across the line, where suddenly they're like, wait a second, I don't agree with any of these guys over here. Why am I being pushed across the line onto their side by you all? And that's totally undone the left, the Democrats, the progressives, and the feminists. I mean, the feminists mostly have really gotten... I'm amazed at how mean they are to other women. I am shocked that they will really, really make you go through it. And yeah, so they totally messed up their scene. And so it's I'm trying to fuse how all of these trends are coming together in this weird way that I'm like, there's something that's going to give that I'm just not foreseeing. Like, some part of the college system, or there's something I'm not hearing about is giving. That there's something that I'm just like, no, it's something's going to bottom out, because there's not enough motivation in society for people to do that extra bit of work, to get a little bit extra, because they're excited about the idea of even if it's just psychological. That's one of the big things as libertarian types, praxeologists, the psychological reward. Even if people feel a psychological reward, it really is kind of a waste of their time in a functional way. If that's what humans are supposed to be. That they get this joy out of doing something, and it's like all over society, you can't have joy now. And more, every field, all the things that are supposed to be beautiful in art can't be beautiful, can't be joyful, can't be fun. People, Power World this, Power World that, but it's fun. Well, man, have you played it? Oh my God, I would never. Blah, 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 blah. Take the joy out of that. No joy. No fun. And it's just, and I'm like, more and more like, yeah, there's going to be these eventually regions that people there, they not only do a lot of people go to church, but a lot of people, there's a lot of good times. Like, people there have fun, and or they know how to, quote unquote, have a good time, but it will be a different way of understanding it too, because of technology making it cheap enough that you can entertain yourself on quite a modest budget. So there's that, like, in doing stuff with people. This is the other part of that, the trends and everything, walking through it. The reason why people get together. And when you do it for something that it's supposed to be a part of, like the eternal calendar of the universe, that's a very different kind of mental state than people who, they just are going to hang out and binge watch something and get smashed, both are. I mean, both are. It's fun, good time. Not really judging it. But yeah, I just been thinking about like, there's only so long the second one can really hold out as a cultural norm. Yeah, yeah, and it's not. This is kind of a darker one, really, when I think about it, because it's this is kind of sad. It's like watching the lights go down on an era, and not sure, when the curtain opens, what you're gonna see. Hearing a lot of yelling and banging and bumping around backstage in the rafters. All right, later.